He gave them everything: his time, his love, his sacrifices, and they repaid him with betrayal. When Donovan Cain walked in on his wife tangled in bed with his best friend and his own daughter turned against him, he didn't scream. He vanished. And while they celebrated his downfall, he plotted his rise. What followed wasn't rage. It was calculated, merciless revenge. They thought he was broken, but Donovan was just getting started. Welcome to Infidelity Truths. Before we dive into today's gripping story, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us create more thrilling stories just for you. Let's begin. The man they underestimated, Jared Lawson, had built his life from the ground up: sweat, sacrifice, and endless perseverance. He was the provider, the rock, the man who never faltered. Long nights, brutal deadlines, and unwavering devotion defined his very existence. But in one devastating moment, everything he'd worked for crumbled. Jared stood in the doorway of the home he'd paid for, the home he built with his bare hands and blood, and what he saw shattered him. His wife of 17 years, Elena, was in bed with Corey Miles, his childhood best friend. The sheets tangled like a mockery of trust. Elena's once glowing blonde hair fanned out over the pillow, and Corey had the audacity to smirk, his tattooed arm wrapped around her waist like he belonged there. Behind Jared stood his daughter, Naomi, the light of his life, until she opened her mouth. "Why don't you just disappear, Dad?" she spat, venom in her voice. Jared didn't shout, didn't break down, didn't fall to his knees. Instead, he turned around and walked away. That night, the dingy apartment he rented became his war room: a single desk, a laptop, a notepad, and one goal: take back everything. Elena hadn't worked a day in her life. Every house payment, every luxury car, every investment, Jared had paid for it all, and he owned it all. By morning, joint accounts were closed, assets were transferred, credit lines were frozen. Within 3 days, Elena's world started to collapse. Her credit card was declined at the grocery store. Naomi's college fund, gone. The mortgage was now in Jared's name alone. Elena's calls went unanswered. Her voicemails grew angrier. One screamed, "You think you can just take everything from me? I'll destroy you." Jared saved the voicemail. It would be useful in court. 5 days later, he drove by the house, not to confront, but to observe. Corey's truck sat in the driveway. Laughter echoed through the walls. They thought they'd won, but Jared knew Corey. He knew about the gambling, the infidelity, the lies. With a few keystrokes, Jared hacked Corey's emails, bank records, and found damning proof: affairs, unpaid debts, pawn receipts for the watch he bragged about. Jared compiled everything and sent it from a fake account. 3 hours later, Elena called. "I know it was you," she hissed. "Interesting theory," Jared replied calmly. "You might want to get tested. Who knows where Corey's been?" That night, all hell broke loose. Corey fled the house with a duffel bag, Elena screaming after him. "You lied to me," she shrieked. "You think Jared did this?" Corey shouted back. "He's the one laughing now." And Jared was. Phase 2 began. He revoked Elena's access to everything. Legally, she was now a tenant. Tenants could be evicted. At the bank, Elena screamed at the branch manager, a woman named Denise who had known Jared for years. "Why are my accounts frozen?" Denise checked the system. "All those accounts belong to Mr. Lawson. You were listed as a secondary user, not an owner." But, but I used them for years." "You spent from them. You never owned them." The realization nearly knocked Elena off her feet. Her world had been built on Jared's back. Now it was all gone. Naomi had been raised with everything: designer clothes, new phones, first-class everything. But she never saw the sacrifices. Only what was missing. When Corey fed her lies about Jared, she believed them. Harvard? The deposit deadline passed. Jared never paid it. Now Naomi was left with nothing. Weeks passed. Elena showed up outside Jared's apartment, crying, begging, threatening. "I'll take everything in the divorce," she screamed. Too late. Jared had already retained the top 3 attorneys in the city. No one would take her case. In court, the ruling was swift and brutal. Elena walked away with the bare minimum. The house was sold. Elena and Naomi moved into her sister's cramped garage apartment. Naomi flipped burgers at a fast food joint, humiliated daily. Elena worked as a receptionist in a rundown office, her old socialite friends ghosting her. Jared, on the other hand, soared, promoted to head of engineering at a top firm. New high-rise condo, a city skyline view, and someone new. Adelaide Moore, a sharp, warm woman with auburn hair and a laugh that healed wounds. Over dinner one night, Adelaide looked at him. "Are you done looking over your shoulder?" she asked. Jared sipped his wine and smiled. "Yeah, I'm done." 6 months later, a letter came from a rundown place called Riverbank. The handwriting was shaky. "Jared, I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know I finally understand. You were the best thing that ever happened to me, and I destroyed it. I lost everything. Goodbye." Jared stared at the letter, then burned it, because Elena Lawson no longer existed in his world. She made her choice. Now she had to live with it. And Jared Lawson had finally won. The months rolled by, but for Donovan Cain, time no longer dragged with the weight of betrayal. It moved with purpose. Each day brought new victories, not out of vengeance, but evolution. He had reclaimed his life, brick by brick, again, but this time for himself. Meanwhile, Lena Carter, once the pampered wife, was drowning in the quicksand of her choices. Her days were no longer filled with spa appointments and brunches. Instead, they were consumed by job applications, awkward interviews, and rejection emails. She had no degree, no experience, and no reference that didn't come from someone now unwilling to answer her calls. The suburban queen had been stripped to a commoner, and she didn't wear the title well. Talia, their daughter, had become a shell of her former self. Gone was the cocky, overindulged teenager. Now she worked late shifts at a fast food joint, scrubbing floors in worn-out sneakers. Her TikTok followers had dwindled. Her private school friends barely responded to her messages. And the Harvard dream? Gone. Vanished like smoke. The funds had disappeared overnight, rerouted into a trust that Donovan had locked with legal safeguards she couldn't touch. Donovan never gloated. He simply lived. In his luxury condo high above the city, he focused on his work, now leading an elite engineering division with global impact. Every corner of the skyline reminded him of what he had built. His weekends, once filled with stress and spreadsheets, were now shared with Ivana Lowell, the intelligent, compassionate woman who never asked for anything he wasn't willing to give. One night over dinner, as the city shimmered below them, Ivana asked gently, "Do you ever think about them?" Donovan paused, sipping his wine. "Sometimes," he admitted, "but not with anger, just clarity. They chose their path." "And you?" she smiled. "I chose mine." Back in Riverbank, Lena Carter sat alone in her sister's cramped garage apartment, staring at a blank laptop screen. Even her tears had grown tired. Her reflection no longer inspired self-pity, only silence. Talia hardly spoke to her anymore. Their once tight bond, built on entitlement and illusion, had eroded into resentment. Then came the final blow. One afternoon, a letter arrived from Donovan's lawyer. It was simple, final, cold. Notice: a finalized divorce settlement. All assets retained by Donovan Cain. Custody, not applicable. Obligations, none. This closes all legal and financial ties. Lena read it 3 times. The words blurred as tears welled up. There were no loopholes left to exploit. No men left to manipulate. No illusions left to chase. Desperate, she sent Donovan one last message, just a text. "Donovan, please, just talk to me." He never responded, because Donovan Cain had moved on. 6 months later, he stood at the balcony of his condo, watching a sunrise that painted the city gold. His phone buzzed with updates, promotions, new contracts, invitations to speak at summits. He was a man in demand. Ivana came up behind him, wrapping her arms around his waist. "You ready?" she asked. "We're going to miss our flight." He turned, smiling. "Let's go." As they boarded a private flight to the Maldives, Donovan didn't look back, not even once. Back in Riverbank, Lena checked the mail again. Nothing, just bills. Talia didn't come home until after midnight. The small garage apartment echoed with silence and shame. And so it was. Donovan Cain had not only survived, he had soared. while Lena Carter had not only fallen, she had vanished. And Talia? She was learning what it meant to earn what you once took for granted. The story was no longer about betrayal, it was about becoming. And Donovan Cain had become untouchable. Months turned to a year. The silence between Donovan Cain and the ghosts of his past became permanent. But in a quiet suburb of Riverbank, Lena Carter stared at a weathered photograph, the only image she had left of her once perfect family. Donovan smiling in his suit, Talia hugging his leg, Lena pretending to be happy, hiding her secrets even then. Time had humbled her. The nights were cold and the workdays were long. The receptionist job barely covered rent. Her sister had grown weary of the extra mouths to feed. And Talia, now hardened by real life, barely spoke to her unless necessary. The resentment hung heavy between them. One morning, Lena collapsed outside the office. The diagnosis was stress-induced exhaustion, dehydration, lack of sleep, and poor nutrition. The hospital stay was short. The bill was not, and there was no one left to call. Out of desperation, Lena penned one final letter. Not for pity, not even for forgiveness, just the truth. Dear Donovan, I know you owe me nothing. I took everything from you, your peace, your time, your trust. I didn't just break our marriage, I broke the man who loved me more than I ever deserved. I want you to know I understand now. You were never weak. I was. I thought I could replace you with someone flashier, someone exciting. But I didn't realize you were the foundation holding everything together. Talia's hurting too, even if she doesn't admit it. I don't expect a reply. I just needed you to know. You were the best thing that ever happened to us. Goodbye, Lena. She mailed the letter with shaking hands. Talia, meanwhile, had started saving every dollar. The past year had taught her hard lessons. She had enrolled at a local college, working night shifts to pay for classes. Her phone was filled with reminders, not selfies. She didn't speak of Harvard anymore, just the future she had to build with her own hands. One day after class, she stood outside a corporate building downtown, staring at the sign, Cain Engineering Innovations. Inside, Donovan sat in a conference room surrounded by top executives. His phone buzzed once, a message from the front desk. A young woman is here to see you. She says her name is Talia Carter. He stared at the message for a long time. Then he stood. Moments later, Talia was escorted into his office. She looked different. Older, humbled. Her hands trembled. Hi, Dad, she said softly. Donovan didn't speak right away. He just looked at her, this girl who once spat venom, now standing in front of him with eyes full of regret. I'm not here to ask for money, she blurted. I'm not here to fix everything. I needed to tell you that I was wrong. He nodded slowly. Talia swallowed. I miss you, and I'm sorry. There was a long pause. Finally, Donovan spoke. Are you trying to be better? She nodded. Every day. He gestured to the chair. Then sit down. Let's talk. Donovan never returned Lena's letter, but he read it once. Then, like the memories that haunted him, he let it go. Lena Carter would live out her days in quiet obscurity, a cautionary tale of loss and selfishness. Talia Cain, because she had changed her name, slowly rebuilt a bridge to her father, not with words but with action. Over the next few years, she graduated, interned under Donovan's firm, and eventually earned a position on her own merit. Donovan Cain never remarried, but Ivana remained by his side. They traveled the world, built a life rooted in peace, and every morning he woke up knowing one thing. He had lost everything, and still he had won. Because the truest revenge was never destruction. It was reinvention. Thank you, my amazing subscribers. Wow, what a journey. If you've made it to the end of this story, I just want to take a moment to say thank you. Your support means everything to me. Every time you watch, like, and comment, you're helping keep this channel alive and growing. And trust me, the best is yet to come. I see all your comments. I feel your love, and I truly appreciate each and every one of you. If this story touched your heart, hit that like button and drop a comment below. I'd love to hear what you think. Your thoughts and feedback inspire me to create even more powerful stories. And if you haven't already, Subscribe and turn on that notification bell so you never miss a new upload. More shocking twists, emotional journeys, and real life lessons are on the way, and I don't want you to miss a single one. Together, we're building an incredible community, and I'm so grateful to have you on this journey with me. Stay strong, stay inspired, and remember, sometimes life's greatest lessons come from the most unexpected moments. See you in the next story.